Welcome to the Dr. Mudgil podcast. This is episode 131. We are deep into May here. Memorial Day is upon us. Nice long weekend ahead of us. My kids actually, I think a lot of kids, because I see many kids and I talk to the parents, are off Friday before Memorial Day. So it's a nice 4-day weekend for a lot of folks. The doc is going to be schlepping into the city in the wee hours of the morning. Friday mornings are a very busy day for me in New York City. So I'll be working. My kids will be sleeping in, but looking forward to a nice long weekend. I hope you guys all are too. Maybe a little golf, maybe a little barbecuing. Just the first unofficial weekend of summer. But it's beautiful here in New York. We had a little bit of rain, some showers today, but for the most part, it's been warm. It's feeling kind of summery, and just excited to kick the summer season off this Memorial Day. So this week, I've actually been thinking a lot about perspective, one's perspective of situations, how many of us are on the inside looking out, and, how, things can sometimes on a personal level get blown out of proportion. And I thought it'd be something interesting to talk about in this week's podcast. So, listen, I have teenage kids. My kids are 16, 14, and 12. Well, I have one tween and two teenagers. It's interesting. You learn so much from your kids. You're reminded of things you went through as a kid. And, now with the perspective of an old man like myself. And I think about things my mom would tell me when I was a teenager. And, of course, many of us repeat the same things our parents told us. And of course, when I was a teenager, I was like, Mom, you don't know anything. You don't know what you're talking about. Things are different now. But it's amazing how different things may be. There was no iPhones, God, I think there was no Apple computers. Everything has changed so much. No Netflix, no Instagram, no Facebook. But as much as things have changed, many things stay exactly the same. The human experience, no matter where you are, what generation you're in, there's so much shared collectively from generation to generation. And, one of the things that I've been thinking about quite a bit is, a lot of times these really seemingly, from a parent's perspective, insignificant things, may trouble my kids or other kids that I see. I'm a dermatologist, so I'm in the vanity business. I see lots of kids with acne and, all sorts of other issues. And, of course, when you're on the inside looking out, when you're a teenager and you got a zit on your face and it seems like the end of the world, you think everyone, that's the only thing anyone's looking at when they see you, things get so blown out of proportion. It's almost like, you have a spotlight shining on you, or, you give a presentation in school and then you goof up and you freeze up in front of the class and, you think there's just a spotlight shining on you and the whole world is just judging you and looking at you. I remember my mom would say no one's noticing any of those things, but when I was that age, I thought that was the only thing anyone was noticing. I got a big zit on my cheek or on my nose. I thought that was the only thing someone would see when I'd walk into a room, or like I mentioned, I had to give a presentation once at this big meeting, and I froze up in front of literally 1,000 people, and it was one of the most humiliating moments of my life, and it was really personally debilitating at the time, and. The truth is, now that when I look back at it or I think about those instances, everyone has so much shit going on in their lives. Everyone's focused on their own stuff. No one's even paying attention to these things. And, a lot of times, even now as an adult, something may happen. Or, sometimes I think back, I may have had a conversation and I think the next day I was like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or maybe I should have said it a different way, or, something, I wish I could have done better or done it in a different way. And in my mind, it just resonates so loudly. Negativity in general, just being a human, just resonates so incredibly loudly, so much more so than anything positive. Just that's just the way we are. Just negative things are really loud, and positive things are generally, much, much, much more sheepish and quiet in our minds. I don't think that's just me. I think that's most of us. But the truth is, there's not a spotlight on any of us. All of us are coursing through life. We all have a million things going on. And yeah, of course, we impact each other, positively, hopefully more positively than negatively, as we course through the day. You get your coffee at Starbucks, you want to be nice and friendly and, warm and gracious and all of those sorts of things. And, you want to impart positivity into the world and, just be a positive human. But, things happen and, sometimes, you wish you did something differently. You wish the circumstance ended up differently than it did. And a lot of times, you put so much psychological burden on yourself. And you're like, I really screwed up. The bottom line is, like, in reality, that's just not the case. The impact we have on each other is somewhat fleeting. All of us have so much stuff going on in our lives, work and kids and spouse, just a lot of things that are going on, especially the older and older and the grayer you get. There's just, so many more moving parts that, little inconsequential events throughout the day, they actually don't have a tremendous amount of impact in the world, although it may seem like they do. And that's just an important reminder. What really sort of jarred this conversation, there's a couple of things that happened this week, but one of my patients who had a surgery on her forehead, it was at the anterior part of her scalp. And I told her, you're going to be really, really swollen, probably just from the anesthesia kind of working its way down. You might have some bruising and stuff. And, just the nature of the conversation, she basically was alluding to the fact that in her mind, things were so much worse appearing than they actually were. Like, a lot of folks didn't even notice the things that she was noticing in the mirror because, as I said, we're all so critical of ourselves. And, everyone else around you has so much stuff going on that they don't even notice these things. Like, the pimple that's on your nose or, the mustard stain that's on your shirt. 99.9% of the time it goes unnoticed. And the 0.1% of the time it is noticed. The person who notices it doesn't give a hoot about it. It's not the thing that's pressing on their mind. Whereas in the person has a pimple or has the mustard stain, it's the only thing they're thinking about all day long. And I think this is something that's shared by all of us. Now, that doesn't mean that your impact on the world is unimportant or inconsequential. I think the goal for all of us is to impart as much positivity as we can into the world and, do the best we can for each other. But we are all human and we all make mistakes. And when a mistake happens, you may say something the wrong way to somebody or a conversation may not go the way that you intended to and you're kind of beating yourself up about it. The truth is, that feeling you have when something goes wrong or you wish you did something a different way, to me, that just means that you are an accountable, self-aware human being. And what I tell myself in a situation like that is if I'm kind of like in my mind, like thinking back on a conversation or something that happened, and I'm, as my kids would say, cringing on the inside. I try to just bottle up that feeling of, I wish I did something a different way or said something a different way. And I use that to hold myself accountable the next time. Like I'll say, you know what? I'm in a similar situation, but I'm actually going to handle it a little bit differently this time because I'm going to learn from the experience that I had the last time where I didn't handle it as well as I should have. And I don't want to feel the same way the next day. I don't want to feel bad about the way I handled the situation. So I'm going to learn from that, and I'm going to modify the way I, behave in the next time I'm encountering a similar situation. I saw a great quote, which I think is very, very applicable to the content of this podcast. You can be a work in progress and a masterpiece at the same time. And, I think that's all of us. There's things that we want to hold on to about ourselves, the things that we love about ourselves, and that's the masterpiece that's within each of us. But we're all works in progress. You always want to be becoming better the next day than you were the day before. And, I think that's how, just being accountable, being self-aware, it just makes our journey on this planet so much more worthwhile. So I hope this made sense. I might have been rambling a little bit, but I was excited to share this content on this podcast because it's something I've actually been thinking about quite a lot this week. And so with that, I hope you all have a wonderful, restful, long holiday weekend. I hope there's burgers and hot dogs and steaks and all sorts of stuff waiting for you. Nice cold beers and rosé if that's your thing. And we're just going to get into next week, just ready to crush the week ahead. Let's get it.